Great and fantastic. So welcome, guys, on our channel today. We are so excited to be coming to you and having these conversations every week, using our time productively to engage, because we have been stuck at home for some weeks now. So it's good that we have got technology and we are able to connect and have conversations. And the beauty of it is that we've always had these tools, but for some reason, we never realized the importance of using them till now. So welcome, everyone. I'm welcoming our panel. We are reaching out to different people to say, hey, guys, if you've got anything relevant to the topic or to the discussion we will be having, we are more than happy for you to come and join us and we can have a conversation with you. So yeah, that's amazing. So to kick off today's conversation, we would like to apologize for us coming to you late because we've had some technical glitches. But we are gonna have this conversation for roughly an hour, and hopefully we will have managed to give you some feedback or some information that can help you move forward during these difficult times. We would like to acknowledge those amongst us who could have experienced loss. And we can say for sure, guys, we are with you in there, and the going is tough because we are all losing loved ones one way or the other. But I think the thing that we need to look at today is how do we move forward through these difficult times? So my condolences to those who have lost their loved ones. May God comfort you and give you the grace to find your way forward. We also want to acknowledge all the moms, the aunties, the sisters, all the females for Mother's Day. Some are celebrating today in different parts of the world. And we want to celebrate you and just really say to you, you really matter. Your contribution to the world, one way, form or the other, it matters. So happy Mother's Day to all the ladies out there who are holding up during this time, and the moms who are holding it up, looking after the kids, trying to balance everything. But you know what? You are created for this, and you are created to multitask. So yes, wow to you. And welcome to all our panel members today. We have got a nice balanced panel where we've invited a few members to come and engage in this conversation. Today, our conversation is around families, around children, mothers and dads, everybody who is involved in the upbringing of children. How do we transition? How do we move forward during these times? We currently, I'm sure we are aware, we were already in the digital age, but I think the introduction of COVID-19 is like kind of just really thrown us and pushed us into it. So now it's not a choice, it's not an option, it's a necessity. So while it has become a necessity to us, but it comes with it a few challenges. It comes with it a few things that we could have thought before COVID-19, we could have thought, oh, actually it's an option. Can my kids have a tablet? Can they have a phone? No, I'm gonna wait till they are this age. But now you cannot afford to wait because these gadgets, the internet, digital, anything digital has become a necessity. It has become an extension of our lives. So how do we incorporate this new change? How do we participate in the change so that it can impact all of us in a positive way and we may minimize the damage? I took a quote I was reading online, and I took a quotation which I want to share with everyone, and that will be a good start for the conversation. Steve Jobs, before he died, he said that he had a strike time rule with his children and with his family. His article expressed that his kids grew without iPads. And he was very clear about the lines that he drew of the relationship that his children had with the gadgets. Yet he's one of the people who were actually the founders. He is actually the founder of Apple. And here he is, 10 years ago, to be precise, when he was mentioning this. And 10 years later, for me and you, these gadgets are no longer an option. And maybe before COVID-19, they would have been an option, but now they are not. So how do we move forward? Suddenly, we are here. I want us to, the conversation today will focus on the gaps that are currently available, caused by the technology moving very quickly for the parents and for the children, and the challenges that is posing, and then we will also look at the solutions. So welcome to our panel. I'm gonna hand over just for our panel to do quick introductions, and we are gonna start with Monica, and then we'll move over to Miriam, and then everybody else. So over to you, Monica. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. My name is Monica Manana, and I'm a pastor at Proverbs 31 Women Ministries. There we actually support women with all these situations now that we're faced with in COVID, you know, from childcare, from supporting our children at home whilst they're, you know, whilst they're home learning, and also supporting women reach their God-given destinies. So that's what we do here. Thank you.
So thank you so much for your introduction. Over to Miriam.
Oh, hi, everybody, and happy Mother's Day to the mothers all over the world. I'm Miriam Mutesha, an experienced teacher educator, so training teachers. Now I have moved from the trainer's chair into the classroom. So I'm working now with children in the community, and we are facing this demon or this big elephant, technologies and how we can use them.
Okay, brilliant. Welcome. Thank you, Miriam. Over to you, Joe, to introduce yourself. We are also waiting for Edith. I can't seem to see her, so I'm gonna have a look and see where she is. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is Joe Zenga, originally born and bred Mrewa, part of the team Dream Blazers. My role involves project development and strategy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe. Over to you, Morgan.
Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Morgan Moati, and I'm a funding consultant. I work with Dream Blazers Academy, and also work with aims and objectives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Morgan. Yeah, so I'm going to throw you right in. Maybe Morgan to give an overview quickly, and then I'm going to hand you over to Monica, an overview of your viewpoint and your experience in a moment. Thank you.
Hello.
Over to you, Monica. Monica. Jump.
Oh, over to me.
Yes.
All right, okay. No, I thought you had said you were going straight to Morgan first. Okay, so just basing on the topic that we have today about you know, parenting and how we are managing with our children during this time of isolation, one of the things I've emphasized, especially with women that I am connected with, is to keep the routine, the usual routine, that, you know, this is not an extended holiday for our children. It's actually a time for us to bond with them. Hello. By actually something happening. Okay, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
We can hear you, Monica.
No, that's absolutely fine, because there was just an interruption on my end. So I was just saying that, you know, one of the things I've emphasized, especially with the women that we interact with, is that they maintain the children's routine as if school is still going on, because some people have thought by having this isolation and stay at home, you know, guidelines and restrictions, it's a time for their children to spend more time in bed and just live a life of, you know, no responsibilities. But in actual fact, it's the time where parents and their children should start to bond even better. So the routine for going to school maintains. You wake up whatever time you were waking up in the morning, probably later because there is no driving time included. However, wake up and get the children ready. They bath, they come downstairs, they have their cereal, and they get on with their schoolwork. But you devise a time where you do schoolwork and you also do other activities. This way it helps the parent to not only enforce a dictatorship upon their children, but it helps them to learn with the children, they learn as their children are learning as well. And then they become better support and pillars for their children, because then they open an avenue for communication. So that's I think that's where I'm looking at things from this end, that education continues, school continues, and interaction at home becomes even more improved, because then we don't lose that touch of school. We only change the atmosphere where we balance things by bringing school at home, and also making sure that home incorporates these changes and allows people to grow.
And thank you so much, Monica, for your contribution. That's absolutely amazing. But the question I have for Morgan, what are some of the challenges that families or parents or yourself have been expressing in the last conversations that we've been having? Over to you.
For me, I think it goes with what Monica has just shared. We are struggling as parents with routine. I'm a parent of 3 children, and they're all still, going to school. And I've really, as a parent, trying to suit to the new challenges. I've been struggling to maintain, like Monica said, maintain the education system. How do I maintain them in that routine where they have to wake up every morning and attend to lessons? My challenge also is, I'll say on my part, my kids are sort of now finding it as we are on holiday. Like they can sleep anytime they want. They can wake up anytime they want. The routine, the school routine has gone. So as a parent, I'm finding it a challenge, really. I know it's a responsibility that I should tell them what time to sleep, get them into a certain routine. But because of the shift of the routine, the shift of the normal, what we used to say normal, that shift has also put a challenge on parents like myself. And also, talking of technology, I think just before COVID-19, we had already introduced these digital tools to our kids. They're already in a routine, not routine, but they already had the gadgets with themselves. For example, on my part, my kids can communicate with other kids from other boroughs or from other areas on their gadgets. They can be playing the same game on the gadget. So yeah, that's my contribution on that.
Thank you so much, Morgan. Thank you for that contribution. And I think the challenges that you guys have both shared are exactly the same challenges that I suppose most parents are going to be going through right now. But remember, guys, this is going to become the new normal. And I think hence the reason why for these conversations, why we are engaging in them, because some of the things you may feel when you're at home on your own, you think, oh my gosh, I'm going through this on my own. But having these conversations will help us to make decisions and to engage, open up our minds, how we embrace this new normal. Because I can't see this new normal maybe changing in the next, even if it changed in the next 6 to 18 months. But even if it did, for argument's sake, how we manage that time ourselves, how we adjust, the children, how they adjust, is going to make a huge impact and a huge difference. And so we have a huge responsibility in terms of how we decide to move forward on these matters. I want to come to Miriam and ask the questions around what Monica and Morgan have mentioned, to say the challenges on setting those boundaries, on separating what is school time, what is home time. The kids feel like, oh my gosh, they're having the best holiday of their times. In terms of someone from an education viewpoint, what's your input on that piece? Over to Miriam.
Okay, thank you, Funkai. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of routine, because the children are exactly not on holiday, they are at school. And remember, this is a global challenge. It's not just for us in the UK, it's global. Therefore, I want to remind the parents, especially in the UK, do you have an understanding of your national curriculum? If yes, do you understand your responsibility in that national curriculum? Because your government has given you responsibility to be part of the educators. And in any case, in education or psychology, we say parents are the first educators. Hence, perhaps we hear Steve Jobs didn't want his children to have those gadgets. He knew what they were and what they were not. So in our case, we have to use the gadgets. What do? We need to definitely step up the game. Number one, let me emphasize the routines. Let your children wake up as though they are going outside to school. Create spaces in your home to offer your children's education. Spaces, spaces, spaces. Not cluttered spaces, decluttered spaces where children can think. Because when there's clutter, the thinking is cluttered as well. And you also need to make sure your children, if they wash, they have a wash, brush their teeth, dress good, just like they are going to school. They may not wear uniform, but they must, it's a must. Wear clean clothes, brush their hair or comb their hair, whatever they do to their hair when they are going to school. It's not anyhow going downstairs or in their bedrooms. Create a space. They have to leave their bedroom to go somewhere to do their learning. Because when I'm teaching, I actually bring my books, I bring my bag, my handbag I've got, and my work bag into my workspace. Therefore, our children should be given those spaces and I cannot emphasize enough, splitting the times. They need to be able to know that in school, actually as teachers, children don't just rush to the toilet as and when they want. There are times when they go to the toilet. Therefore, they need to know when to go to the toilet. They just don't drink or eat, okay? Drinking water. Yes, they should have their water bottle with them. Sit wherever they are working from with their water bottle, not standing up to go to the fridge. No, because we want to create a habit of learning and engaging with their learning. Okay, what else? They also
Thank
need
you.
to have a, yes.
Sorry, Miriam, I wanted to hold you back because you have got some amazing nuggets that you would have as a teacher that we wouldn't have. And so I want to comment. I want to throw in a comment because I sit in a place where I am a business owner. Mm-hmm. And so when your kids leave school, they are coming to work in settings like my business.
Yes.
And I'll tell you the challenges I've had as an employer when I wear my employer's hat. The government in the UK has been running apprentices.
Yes.
We are well aware of them, where the government will say to the employers, we will pay you to give these kids a job. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, for me, I did it twice and I said, this is a total, complete waste of my time. I, as an employer, doesn't have the grace or the capability to be babysitting these kids when they come into employment. Why am I saying that? Because even though they have been in educational settings, the current product of kids and the quality of the human being that we get now lacks that structure that you've just described. So I am trying to imagine how it looks like when now these kids have to be educated staying at home when they are already lacking structure, when they have already been in the education system, because they don't know what it means to be on time to come to work. They don't know what it means to have a designated workspace and to achieve a designated task. And so to try and even incorporate them as you part of your team as you teach them is a tall order. And I've always had these conversations with my managers to say, what has happened to the quality or the output of the kids that we are getting out of school? So thank you for raising those points, because I think it's important for parents to understand the impact that, the long-term impact that it has on these little human beings, that if they are not taught structure when they are at home, they become difficult to work with, or they will struggle in their adult life, because the system has taught us that you go to primary school, you've achieved something. You finish high school, you've achieved. You finish uni, you've arrived. But actually, by the time you finish university, this is the beginning of real life. And the real world has got structure. So I wanted to just add and emphasize that. So the parents have got a role to play in terms of shaping the structure of the kids. But how do they do it when suddenly the bomb has been dropped on them, boom. And some parents don't have space that you've described. They maybe themselves don't have structure themselves. So maybe you can just finish off on that point and we'll move to the next person.
It's quite interesting that you raised the issue of parents not having structure, because most parents, it doesn't matter what your race is, they think that by letting Miriam go to school, their 7-year-old Miriam go to school, that is freeing them space to just do as they wish. Now that little Miriam is staying with them at home, they are having to be a part of her schooling, is just causing a lot of pandemonium, because all I hear is, have you heard when the schools are reopening? Have you heard when the schools are reopening? No, I don't know when the schools are reopening. These are your children. If you can't manage them, who is going to manage them? The teacher out there can't manage them. So I'm actually glad, I'm sorry to say, parents, I'm glad that COVID-19 is here with us, because we needed a little bit of some structure and to infuse a little bit of fear of God into our children so that they can shape up a little bit. Because I get so frustrated when I see parents not really taking a handle, taking a grip with their children's learning. Because if you don't, who is going to do it? The teacher. Let me just give you a little bit of insight into what happens in the classroom. If your child is always on that board with the dark side, they are always going to be behind, no matter how intelligent they are, no matter how much extra lessons you give them, because in class the teacher is bored with that child already. So it means at home, when you hear the reports, you say, they mark my child because we are Black, or they do this to our child because we are foreigners. Or no, our children sometimes can be a disgrace. When I go into secondary schools, sometimes I am intentional. I become intentional in how I deal with our Black children, because they've got a lot of potential. This nation has got a lot of resources for them to build their future, but most of them are wasting their time. They want to wear Jordan, what do you call him? Michael Jordan's whatever latest. Hello, you become your Michael Jordan. Do what you need to do, then we'll be following you in the future. Let me stop here before I get too heated up.
So much, Miriam, for that contribution. That's absolutely amazing, and that's on point. Because I think the parents, we have sort of thought that we have sort of taken the space where I'm the parent, I have the kids, and when they are school going age, teacher have them. we have disconnected with that responsibility and that role. Whereas we are moving away from the actual thing that we must be doing. The word of God says, train up a child the way they must go, that when they grow up, they will not depart. But how do you train up a child when you can't wait for the schools to open? I have a question for the parents. So thank you so much for that. I'm gonna just, before I come back to Monica, I just want Edith to introduce herself because she missed when we done the introduction. Quick introduction, Edith, and then we'll usher you into the conversation. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, Fungai. My name is Edith Utete, and I'm the founder of Digital Age Conversations. We work with schools, parents, and educators in navigating the digital space. We found that a lot of children are being given devices without any guidelines, without any guidance from parents and the educators as well, because educators are more focused on what the syllabus provides. So we come in to fill that gap. I am also a lawyer by profession and an author. Thank you for having me here.
All right, thank you so much, Edith. We'll be coming back to you in a moment, but just to add points, Monica wanted to add a point on what Miriam has just said. Over to you, Monica.
Okay, thank you so much again. The thing I wanted to also come back to is that parents have left a lot of work to be done by other people. But what concerns us, especially when we look at it from a ministry point of view, we realize that parents have an arm's length relationship with their children when it comes to education. A ministry point. I'm getting feedback on my side. I don't know why.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was just saying that the problem that I find is that the relationship on its own between a parent and a child is key to whatever else goes on in their lives. Because we are talking about education, which comes maybe 4 years into their life from home. So children start going to school, probably nursery from 2 years old, depending on the family life. And then they go to primary school, they then go to, but from the onset, how you relate with your child. I want to go back to when you've given birth to a child. You're given a red book from the hospital. The red book tells you stages of development that the child will have to go through. It tells you how to interact with your child. So from that moment onwards, if you are a parent who's invested in their child's life, you start from there. The moment you move away from that, from the red book, whatever else happens in your child's life becomes an arm's length relationship. So the key thing is to realize that every single thing around a child's life has got a learning connotation to it. So whether we are going to school or, on time, just being ready by 7 o'clock to make 8 o'clock for school is important to the child because they learn. It's part of their learning. Just telling a child, can I have a glass of water, half a glass of water? They are learning something from you. They're learning to measure. So if you're not involved in that aspect of your child's development, it's already affecting your relationship with that child. So that's why you find children cannot talk to their parents, because there's never been that interaction from childhood going up. So those are some of the things we need to come back to. In our parenting skills, it's a key thing that we have a red book that is an evaluation of my child. They started talking. What is the first word? They started walking. How are they walking? How do I cheer my child on? How do I encourage my child? So it continues as the child grows and as the child develops. So even when it comes to giving them gadgets, now that we're living in the world of technology, it becomes my responsibility to see what my child is watching. It becomes my responsibility to sit down and say, can we do it together? Because the moment I say, can we do it together? We are now part of a team. Yeah, can we write this together? Can we be involved together? It means that my child can tell me new things. Just this morning, before we when I was preparing for this, my son told me that, you know what, there's a new game called Math Adapter, which is a game that teaches a child mathematics. So they create a robot, and that robot will help them with their division, addition, or subtraction, or whatever area of math that they're learning. But if I didn't have that relationship with him, I wouldn't know, because he would not bring me into that conversation. So we need to learn the communication skills with our children, so that when we now start to create these spaces for them where they have to, I mean, last week on the panel, I heard somebody saying they've baked with their child. That's already communication skills involved. That's mathematics involved, the measuring of eggs and flour and all this, checking the time, how long it's going to take, for the cake to be baked. All those things, they are part and parcel of the learning. So now we are becoming, concerned, because now we've got a national curriculum we have to implement into our everyday life. That's where, we need to strike a balance. I look at it as we need to strike a balance, because if it's already existing in our home, it should just be an additional part of that growth and development.
Thank you for that, Monica. I wanted to just touch on the points that you've raised, and I'm gonna then move this conversation over to Edith with regards to gadget. You have mentioned some amazing points, that the parent involvement in upbringing of their child is key. But I wanna pose a question back to you guys to say that you are talking about parents engaging and getting involved with their children, but we are not acknowledging that the parent we have of nowadays, he lives in a pressure cooker. This parent, he has got money to chase, because this parent needs to feed these kids and to dress them. This parent needs to keep up with the Joneses, because the Joneses next door have got a big house and a big car, and their kids are going to private school. So this parent is under a huge amount of pressure. So this parent is necessarily probably not able to make time to spend time with these children, because she or he is chasing the resource to look after the children. And so I think in our community, for me, from the feedback that we've seen and what we've seen happening, is that the parents then, I suppose this is my own interpretation, makes up now for this absent parenting situation with buying gadgets for the kids. So they work hard so they can buy the latest iPad and the latest iPhone for the child. I mean, I was speaking to my nephew the other week. I saw these amazing looking shoes, and I thought, oh my gosh, I want to get him these shoes. So I texted him and I said, do you like this? And he says, yeah, no, but they don't really look like they're the originals, are they? You see? Why are they not the originals? Because Miriam has rightfully told us that they want to go with the brands. So even if I bought him that pair of shoes with all my heart, he would probably never wear those shoes, because I asked him the question, why do you think they wouldn't go? Because he says, I'll get laughed at school. And so we have that problem that our generation probably wouldn't have faced, because during my time, shoes are shoes. It doesn't matter which pair. So that today's parent has got a challenge with the child today, not because of their doing, but also society and the environment we live in, social media. The boy next door is wearing the latest Jordans on Instagram. So even if mom bought me the normal shoes, they are not good enough. And so the mom is under pressure to buy the latest iPad to simply make up maybe for those. This is my own interpretation. And again, we need to discuss. And so the parents, they just find themselves making up all the time, because they don't simply have the time to even process all that. For me, this is what I experience, and maybe everybody on the panel may share their viewpoint. So I want Edith to share with us then, what is the viewpoint about parents and gadgets? Why do we have a situation where parents are buying the children the latest iPad Pro, £1,900 for a child to take to school? And what comes with that then? What are the challenges? So maybe over to Edith.
Thank you, Fungai. I think, like you said rightly, there's a lot of pressure from society. We've found that a lot of the children are wanting to keep up with the latest technology, with the latest gadgets, and some of it also comes from the parents ourselves, because we are trying to fill that gap where we are either absent or we are not comfortable within ourselves. In fact, one of the things that I do when we talk to parents is to ask them to look at themselves before we even go to the children. Why do we do what we do? If we look at our own posts on social media, for example, what are we saying to our children? Are we saying that imperfection is okay? Or do we expect them to be perfect all the time? So the pressure that we get from society or wherever, our external or internal pressures, will end up streaming onto the children. And then when the children go out into the world, they go to the schools, they're hanging out with their friends, they see again that pressure of wanting to meet a certain standard. So they'll come back home and say, Mom, my friend has this type of phone or this type of gadget and I need to have it. I remember having a conversation with my niece once upon a time when phones had just started coming into the Zimbabwean market. And she was so upset about not having a phone because all her other friends had phones. At that time, it was just, the standard phone before the touch screen came. But still, it was such an issue that she was very upset, and we ended up having issues of communication with her, getting her to do what she was supposed to do. But because of us coming together as a team, as a family, and talking about it and just highlighting to her what it means to value what you have, to be comfortable with what you have, and not try to be competing all the time with everybody. That is, you'll never ever have enough. You'll never ever have what everybody else has. We sort of came to an understanding. But I've seen a lot of us parents, we are setting that tone for our children, honestly speaking, because we want the flashiest cars, the best, biggest houses, the nicest clothes, the nicest and most modern gadgets. So the children learn what they see. And if those are the values that we are imparting to them, that is what they are going to be taking on board as the right thing.
Right. So thank you so much, Edith, for that contribution. So you've brought up some amazing points that then, as parents, we are the best teachers for our children, and we set the pace and the tone for our children. And so I suppose what we see then as challenges right now today with the child today is because the parent, could it be that the parent is playing a bigger part in what is happening? And so if a parent plays a bigger part, how can a parent then, during this digital era, from now going forward, play that part with wisdom and with understanding of what needs to be done, understanding that I, as a parent, I have a responsibility to take control. But I have a question. If I know that I am a parent and I should take control, how do I take control when myself, I am not informed enough, or there is a knowledge gap in terms of what I should be doing and what I shouldn't? And what I mean is that at the moment I was speaking to somebody who runs a school, and they were saying to me, Fungai, the challenge we have today with the schools going digital is not that we don't have the gadgets, we don't have the tools. The challenges we have right now is that the teachers have got a knowledge gap in terms of how to use the tools. The parents have got a knowledge gap in terms of, going back to what Miriam said, how to put a structure in place for the kids to operate correctly from a home environment. So we can see that the conversation is going to be forever evolving around the parents' role in making this digital age situation work. So now that we are there and we have identified the gap that this is posing, what should be done? and how should we move forward? I'm going to bring the conversation over to Joe.
Right. Thank you so much for the insightful contribution, everybody. And I'm speaking as a parent. Don't ask me how many kids. I've got many. Those are outside and those are inside. One of the issues that you've just pointed out there is that we need this is a situation that was unpredictable, but we have to act. First of all, the parents have to do what we call a crash course to update themselves with their IT literacy so that they can be able to keep pace. You can't give to a child what you don't have yourself. So what is needed right now is to allow parents to access resources. If you're going to skip a night shift so that you can do a crash course to be able to teach your own children, that will certainly help, because the digital age is here to stay. That's one point. Second one, there is digital poverty, amongst our communities. In a home, maybe there is no laptop, they are relying on their mobile phones. There is a limited amount of things in terms of learning or education that you can do on a mobile phone. So let's acquire resources as well to equip ourselves to embark on the digital learning journey. The reason why I put it that way is because right now, depending where you are and everywhere it's possible, there is funding. The funding that we are hearing about, it's available for a time like this, whereby we identify the needs, the shortages, and the incapabilities, so that we can fund those to keep ourselves for this moment. The idea of parents not having enough time to spend with their children, those ones are big matters that can be tackled in a way that we need to revisit ourselves as parents. Are you in the right job? Why are you in that job? Is that the best value that you can spend your time? Is the time that you're exchanging for spending time with your children, are you getting paid enough to sacrifice the quality time or the process of transfer of knowledge from a parent to a child? We need to ask honest questions. The amount of time that we're spending in these jobs, is it valuable enough? Is that our purpose? Is that our calling at the end of the day? This can extend for the rest of this evening, but for now, I'll stop there. Thank you.
All right. So thank you, Joe, for those points. And I suppose you've raised some amazing points in terms of parents. Maybe it is an opportunity for families. I wouldn't say parents only, but for families to go back on the drawing board and maybe reevaluate everything. It's a point of reevaluation. Even as we are practicing the same in the businesses, we are reevaluating. Is what we have been doing before still going to work in the new era? Or as a family, where have we been found wanting when this COVID-19 came? And what are the things that are important to us? What can we change? What can we keep? What do we need? What is necessary and what is not? And I suppose it is the same process I think families are going to have to do. For families in the diaspora, our challenge is that we are here and we are driven by money. And that we are always chasing money. But maybe, could it be that the chasing of the money has caused us to leave the children behind? I don't know. Maybe Edith could give us some inputs then. I have just, I did a poll before we went live to look at what are some of the challenges about parenting. And I have got some points here to say, at the moment, the parents are distracted by technology. So somebody pointed that there is distraction due to technology. Parents are always on their mobile phones. So when they get home, parent on the mobile phone, child on the mobile phone, there's no real engagement. And then challenges on the parents, cyberbullying happening to our children because of all these gadgets and the places where they go, the apps that they have. There's a lot of negative content. on the marketplace. So how are parents going to make sure that they help their kids to focus on the positive content? Mental health issues, how are these going to be managed? Because as we transition into the new era, we are losing that social interaction which the kids were benefiting from school. So I'll just raise those points, bringing back to Edith to jump in to say, what has been your experience with the current gadgets and the negative effects it has on the kids? And then how can we navigate that? We'll be coming to Miriam after that.
Okay, on the issue of the kind of issues that children have had, like you pointed out, we have cyberbullying, which is one of the biggest issues. And then we've got cyber stalking, and we've got issues of them suffering from self-image issues based on wanting to always portray that perfect image online. We've also seen a lot of the children not knowing how to respect their own and other people's intellectual property. And we've seen that a recklessness in the way that they create their digital footprint, because they don't realize that this is something that is going to last for a long time and which is accessible to anyone who goes online. And then we've got some misconceptions as well about how they want to be followed by as many people as possible, thereby putting themselves at risk of getting in touch with people who might be pedophiles or people who will, draw them into some criminal activities and those kind of things. So there are a lot of things that have come up. And what we are finding with the current situation, because children, we've been talking about limiting screen time as one of the solutions, but it's actually not practical right now to talk about limiting screen time, because the children need to be online for their schoolwork. And because we are in isolation from our friends and our families, we need to be connecting online. So that balance that Monica was talking about is very important. We need to then be aware of what our children are doing online, who are they talking to, and when. It's really still impractical for us to give children devices late at night, to let them sleep with phones, to let them sleep with gaming devices in their rooms, because when we are fast asleep, that's when they're busy. From the research that I've conducted, even before COVID-19, this was the norm. And we really have to also go back to those conversations, like you were saying, Fungai, that we need to reassess our strategies as families. What values are we trying to instill and how? And come together as a family. I think one problem that the children themselves have said to me time and time again is how, as parents, we want to impose things on them. And naturally, they will resist. Also because they are looking at us and what we are doing. We're always on our own phones, whether we're working or doing something important.
That's right.
Is irrelevant to them. We are not giving them that attention that they require and desire. So we need to get them on board as well. I know that in our culture, it's not something that is very desirable. In a lot of cases, children should be seen, not heard. But it's important that we have participation of the children, to know from them what is it that we can do as a family to have healthy digital practices. Joe was talking about educating ourselves and investing in educating ourselves.
I'm going to come back to you, Edith. I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to come back to you because I'm conscious about our time. I'm coming back to that education piece. So picking up on the points that you've raised, I think the key point that I've picked up is some families are very good at communicating at family level, but we see a lot of gaps in communication in some families, and then that makes it difficult to engage into these digital conversations. So communication nowadays, I suppose the child nowadays like to be given an opportunity to be considered a contributor. And I suppose those conversations of child-parent relationship now needs to be more driven by acknowledgement that you are the child, I'm the parent, but how do we communicate? It's not imposing, but it's how do we communicate so that everybody has got a place? I wanted to bring the conversation back to Miriam so that she can pick up as well and contribute in terms of the education space. How can the parents respond to this, and how do you guys apply it in the current education system in terms of trying to have the conversation around the boundaries, when to use gadgets and when not? How is the education system reinforcing that, and how do they apply it?
As I think as parents, we ought to be, and I will repeat, we ought to be intentional with our children when it comes to use of gadgets. Now that their learning is going to be online using gadgets. So imagine you give your child minimum 4 hours activities, and most of them are interactive online. So that will be total of, say, 2 hours online time learning. Now, after 4 hours, your child still needs to catch up with their friends. And then you allow them to do as much as to stay there as much as they want. Right. Now we are looking at quite a substantive amount of time spent online. Yes. Yet that is not what God intended. I just want us to, I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, I want to take you back to Daniel, the first book of Daniel, the first chapter of Daniel. Those boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and Daniel himself, were teenagers when they were taken to Babylon. But they knew their parents were not there. They were chosen by the king because of their stature, their physique, and also they proved to be intelligent. They were able to say no to certain things. Right. They were able to choose even the food they were supposed to be eating. Which tells me, and after they had negotiated with the person who was keeping them, they were allowed those 10 days or however many days to eat the food that was good for them, not the choice foods that were on the king's table. Right. But they came out better. And when the king asked them questions, they were far ahead of everybody else. Now, let me hold this back to our conversation. If these children were not given the principles they needed for life by their parents, imagine Babylon is London. They come to London. Would they have been able to resist and desist some of the pleasures, the choice foods, the Nikes, all the designer clothes, and all the flashy things? Was it not from home that they were taught to say no? So that's a question I will throw out there to all of us parents. What are we doing? Are we teaching our children to be in school we call it responsible adults? We actually teach them to be responsible adults, you know. So there is actually citizenship. We teach them about citizenship. Now, if we are teaching them at home, in school, and then at home, we are doing the better bit of the citizenship, then it means we bring up a whole child. When now they are supposed to be learning using these amazing gadgets, because to me it's amazing. I'm learning a lot as a teacher, as a provider, to just say, wow, interesting. And some children are engaging much better. And some children, we can see the pressures